Right then guys, it's PSL here, and I'm here for the 5th episode in my Force India career mode on F1 2017. And we're here for the Spanish Grand Prix, and look, it is raining already in this first practice session. And I was hoping going to Spain, sunny Spain, I was hoping we would get away from the rain, because we had the Russian Grand Prix last time out, and the Russian Grand Prix was wet from start to finish. And I was hoping going to Spain we might see some typical Spanish sun, but unfortunately not. Anyway, here we are in the first practice session. I did decide to go out in the wet weather conditions. Normally I don't, but I did this time just because, I don't know, just because we can't really afford to waste any track time. So we're, already sliding about, and I believe, well, look at that, we've got engine wear. That's going to be a theme of this race, is engine wear, and gearbox wear, actually, because I believe we've lost 6th gear. There you go, we've lost 6th gear, which is exactly what happened at the Russian Grand Prix. I haven't changed my gearbox or any of the engine components because why would I? I mean, you take... Okay, well, not with the engine components, but with a gearbox, if you change it too early, you get a grid penalty. And in fact, it looks like, with something weird, we're changing up, going around the corner. And now we're in a straight line. We've just changed down to 4th, down to 3rd, on the rev limiter, up to 4th, 5th. Got to change down, we've changed up to 6th. Something is going on. This gearbox has had it. We had some minor issues in Russia. We lost 3rd in practice, and we lost 6th in quali in the race, but here we've lost everything. I'm on automatic gears, so that's not me messing about. I wondered if I change it to manual gears, I wondered if it would fix it, and kind of pressing the button, I'm not pressing downshift. I mean, sure, I play in automatic gears, I can play in manual, certainly I know the controls for manual gears, and yeah, this is just, the gearbox has developed a mind of its own at this point, so I'm now pressing X rapidly to change up gear. Wasn't doing anything, so I've had to actually change the gearbox. We got a bit of trouble with it in Russia, but here we are in Spain. I've had to change it, because if that happens in the race, that's game over. That is, you know, there's no recovering from that. So here we are, second practice session. Look at that. Sergio Perez is in 2nd on the hard tyres. So he's beaten Hamilton, who's on the softs, Bottas is on the softs, Raikkonen, the championship leader, who's on the softs. Don't ask me how Perez did that time. Anyway, here we are in qualifying, and trust me, qualifying, it doesn't get any less dramatic. This race, this is the first career mode race I've done, in fact the first recorded race I've done ever since the 1.6 update. So it's fixed the whole AI being overpowered in qualifying, or overpowered compared to the difficulty level that you're on. So it's fixed that, and as we can see, Fernando Alonso, as always, down in 16th place. Palmer's in the drop zone, Van Dorn, Verline, Ericsson, they're always down in the drop zone. And, yeah, well, in fact, hang on, what on earth is going on here? Jolyon Palmer, the second we spectate Jolyon Palmer, he's lost control. He's still running. He was on an outlap, though. So that wasn't even the flying lap, he was on an outlap. And I think he's going to have to come into the pits because, yes, there you go, he's lost his front wing. Which is, I've seen that glitch before. That happened on, I think F1 2015? Maybe F1 2016, who knows. But that glitch has happened before. Here we are in the dying few seconds of Q1. Ericsson's in the drop zone, so is Palmer. Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, Danny Kvyat, Perez is almost in the drop zone. Perez improved, but I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea how those guys were in the drop zone. Yeah, Palmer's down in 19th. Stroll's been knocked out in 18th. Magnussen in the Haas is down in 17th. And Daniel Kvyat was knocked down in 16th. That's because, well, Stoffel Van Dorn in the McLaren is 9th. And Fernando Alonso is 7th. Fernando Alonso has beaten Valtteri Bottas in Q1. Sure, Bottas is on the mediums, but that's... I mean, that's kind of irrelevant. How on earth did the McLaren make it through into Q2? I mean, so where we saw they were in the drop zone, and then suddenly we got to the end of qualifying and they weren't. Q2, Perez is in the drop zone, but Force India, we normally scrape out of into Q3 normally. Romain Grosjean's in the drop zone. He's in 11th place at the moment, but it seems like one patch fixes one issue of the qualifying, and then more occur. Because look, Alonso, that wasn't just a fluke. Alonso's in 9th. You know, McLaren is still the second slowest team. It's not like McLaren have fitted an obscene amount of upgrades. Who knows? Who knows? And even then, Pascal Wehrlein was able to make it into Q2. Sure, he was down in 15th, but whatever. The Q3 results, Sebastian Vettel's on pole position, then you got Hamilton, Raikkonen, Bottas, Ricciardo, Verstappen, myself, Massa, Grosjean. Fernando Alonso did qualify down in 10th, but it seems like, as I said, one issue of qualifying gets fixed and then another one occurs. Honestly, over the course of F1 2015, 16 and 17, I think we've seen every possible glitch and issue in qualifying. Anyway, I've changed the difficulty midway through, so it's on 98 difficulty. Because you may have noticed my qualifying times were a little bit too good, a little bit too unrealistic. I was much quicker than Perez, but not only that, I was just behind Verstappen. So I've upped the difficulty from 95 to 98. That's the problem now, is now that they've actually patched the overpowered qualifying, I now have to rediscover the right difficulty level. So I've put it on 98, sheer assumption. I just have to now, work out what difficulty level I should be on. It's stupid I've played the game for 3 weeks and I'm still none the wiser on what difficulty I should be on, because they've changed it. Anyway, that was qualifying, that was practice. Practice was carnage. Qualifying was ridiculous. As you can see, I'm down in 12th place because of my 5th place grid penalty for changing gearbox. So I'm down in 12th, right with my teammate Sergio Perez, and the 2017 Spanish Grand Prix is underway, and we got some smoke after tyres at the start, but it looks like Sebastian Vettel has been able to retain the race lead. The Mercedes power still cannot propel Lewis Hamilton past Sebastian Vettel. Meanwhile, I'm down. I've actually lost a place to a Toro Rosso driver there. I'm going to try and dive it up the inside of my teammate Sergio Perez, but there's just not the space. In fact, hang on, one of the Toro Rosso drivers went a bit deep going into that corner. There's all sorts going on behind, but I've been able to pass. In fact, there's been another collision behind with another Toro Rosso. It's all kicking off. But now to get past Perez, Fernando Alonso, no idea how he qualified in 10th. 9th, actually, ever since I got my gearbox penalty. He started in 9th. I'm going to get past Fernando Alonso relatively easily, so I'm now back up almost into my qualifying position. Pre-penalty, anyway. Alonso's in 10th, I'm in 9th. Let's have a look at the race start. So we got Valtteri Bottas in 4th, it's Raikkonen 3rd, Hamilton 2nd, and Hamilton's start was just not that quick. Bottas is catching up, Raikkonen's was quicker, Vettel's was good. Vettel definitely had a good start. Bottas going in between Hamilton and Raikkonen. And he's been able to, I was about to say he's been able to thread it through the pair of them to pass both of them. He hasn't. Lewis Hamilton's been able to retake 2nd place, but Bottas has moved up from 4th to 3rd. And we're going to have a look at this, just because it was what a move it was. From the AI as well. This is good AI racing. I mean, that's brave. Because you've got to have supreme trust in Hamilton and Raikkonen to go through the middle of them on turn 1, lap 1. And as you can see, Sebastian Vettel leading the Grand Prix. I mean, he's already opened up quite a sizable gap, and we've only done a sector of the Grand Prix. And now, here we go. We'll have a look at the incident at the start involving Carlos Sainz, who was able to get ahead of me. And there you go. He just locked up. He was to the side of both Force Indias, locked up, and it seems like he just rejoined into the path of a Haas driver there. So Sainz, it looks like, we're trying to see, it looks like he's got most of his front wing still there. He must have sustained some damage. Certainly debris went flying. So we got Lance Stroll, who got quite a good vantage point of this incident. So there you go. So actually the Haas driver there locked up as well. It looks like Lance Stroll almost pushed the Haas driver of Kevin Magnussen into Sainz. So Magnussen and Sainz both locked up independently of each other, and then Stroll pushed Magnussen into Sainz. So it was almost a chain reaction of a series of events that just happened to sustain, or it happened to lead to front wing damage for Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen, he's coming in the pits, undoubtedly for a front wing change, because it looks like the entire right side, well not the entire, but most of the right side of his front wing is gone, and new set of soft tyres, just so slow with the pit stop, and finally he's been let out of the pits. So Kevin Magnussen, he's now, well, down, stone dead last. And there you go, this is a battle which is going on just ahead of me, because I'm right behind Nico Hülkenberg. And this is at the end of the first lap, and we're going to see Nico Hülkenberg get past Verstappen. There's no DRS involved, they're both Renault powered. There's a tyre difference, but that shouldn't make a difference in straight line speed. And Hülkenberg's about to get past Verstappen. In fact, we're still battling going around there. Nearly caught me out there. I so nearly rear-ended Verstappen. And And we've got to take advantage of this because Verstappen's clearly not going that quickly. Either Verstappen's going very slowly or Hulkenberg is going extremely quickly. Either way, something's going on. I've got to take advantage of this, never mind the fact that also I've got the tyre advantage on Verstappen, which will not be the case for the entire Grand Prix. I've got past Verstappen though, so I'm now up into 8th place, just behind Nico Hulkenberg. So actually, all in all, it's been quite a good start to the Grand Prix as far as I'm concerned. I've made up 4 places in 2 laps. And here we go. So we got, going back towards the front of the field, Sebastian Vettel still leading the Grand Prix by quite a sizable distance. Hamilton hasn't been able to close up, but in fact Valtteri Bottas, he's going to be able to get past Lewis Hamilton. I was going to say with relative ease. They're still side by side going around the second corner, and they're going around the long sweeping third corner. And there you go. Valtteri Bottas, he has taken the lead. No, sorry, not taken the lead. He has taken second place in the Spanish Grand Prix. Maybe he'll be able to close up to Sebastian Vettel because Hamilton was not closing up. Although, one thing I will say about this circuit is one of those circuits where if you fall outside the DRS range, you lose out on a lot of performance, because then you've got to get by on your own wits and skill, which is what F1 should be about. But it's so much easier to stick with the car behind if you're within DRS range. And, you know, as evidenced by the fact that I am still behind Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg and myself, we both caught up to Felipe Massa. Massa's in the pits. So that means I'm now up into 7th place. And there you go. So we got Hulkenberg in 6th. And we just cannot get past Hulkenberg. DRS. And we're not really catching up. And this is because you will have seen it in practice. And of course, we've done more running since practice, so the problem's got worse. We've got engine wear. Our engine isn't at peak performance. So we're down on power. In theory, the Renault should be as well, unless they change engine components, which, who knows, it's possible. But I wouldn't want to change engine components already. It's only the 5th race of the season. We've already done it once as well. That's the embarrassing thing. And we're a Mercedes engine runner. Anyway, we're coming into the pits. I'm still behind Nico Hulkenberg. As you can see, I just couldn't get past Hulkenberg. It just wasn't happening, despite the fact he's in a Renault with a Renault engine, obviously. I'm in a Force India with a Mercedes engine. It was the engine wear that was letting me down, and I can only assume that either Hulkenberg's running a less downforce setup, or he's changed engine components, because normally I should be able to breeze past a Renault-powered car. We saw it with Palmer at the Russian Grand Prix last time out, and I didn't even have DRS then. Anyway, I've exited the pits, so I'm directly behind Lance Stroll, Mr. Lance Stroll, who caused the chaos on the first lap, so I better get past as quickly, swiftly, and cleanly as possible. And there you go. But now to get past Lance Stroll and up into 11th place. Stoffel Van Dorn is 10th in the McLaren. Something's happened with McLaren. I don't know if the updates had anything to do with it, but McLaren have gone suspiciously good. And it wasn't just qualifying, because Van Dorn's still in 10th, he's still ahead of Stroll. Something very odd is going on. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton was in fact one of the last to come into the pits. He came in on the same lap as me. As you can see, I'm just off in the distance. So Lewis Hamilton, he's going to try and get the overcut on Vettel. Well, Vettel's long gone. As you can see, Vettel's already come through shot. And we're going to see Valtteri Bottas. And actually, I thought Hamilton had it. But he's backed out of that. Valtteri Bottas, he had the speed, he had momentum, and he'd be able to maintain 2nd place. Lewis Hamilton's still down in 3rd. But Hamilton definitely seems to be the slower Mercedes driver. Either that, or Vettel is in a league of his own, this Grand Prix. Anyway, so we're on the medium tyres now, and in fact, there's Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg really was one of the last to pit. So I've been able to get the undercut on Nico Hulkenberg. It's amazing. The regulation changes in 2017, the difference in tyres and all of this and that, but some things just do not change, and that is the overpowered undercut. And hopefully, it can still be the same here. I know we're talking about Max Verstappen, but he was on the medium tyres, so of course he came in later. And if we can get an undercut on Max Verstappen, then, you know, we could be looking rosy this Grand Prix. We could actually beat a Red Bull. Genuinely, and that would be, well, that would be amazing, and it looks like we have, because Verstappen, he's just gone past the pit limiter line. I'm going around the first corner. Myself and Hulkenberg have been able to get past, well, we've been able to maintain position on Max Verstappen. So that means the next car ahead of me is Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen's behind Ricciardo. Don't know how that's happened. Look at Sergio Perez. he's in 3rd place. Now that's because Perez started on the medium tyres. Most of us, I think pretty much the entire field, is trying to do a 2-stop strategy, but Perez is trying to do a 1-stop. Typical Sergio Perez, trying to do as few stops as possible. And look at this, the battle going on behind. This is, I really needed Hulkenberg to just try his hardest to keep Verstappen behind him. Because Verstappen, not only has he got the quicker car, but unlike the first stint, he's now got the tyre advantage. Before, the only reason myself and Hulkenberg passed him is because I think we caught him napping and he had the slower tyres. Now he's got the quicker tyres, and there's quite a big time delta difference between the mediums and the softs. Quite a big difference. Although not as big of a difference as there is between the mediums and the hards. And we just passed Sergio Perez. And there you go, Max Verstappen. He's got past. DRS, Slipstream. Again, it's another Renault engine runner, which hasn't been able to get past. And oh my words, I thought it was a done deal that he passed me. Then I thought it was a done deal that I repassed him. And I've been taken out by Max Verstappen. There you go, down to 9th place. Felipe Massa's passed me, great. We've got to deal with Felipe Massa all over again. And in fact, that's another thing. The undercut did not work for Felipe Massa. Massa just not having the speed at this Grand Prix. So let's have a look, a replay of this instance. So, Verstappen got past me. I thought it was a done deal. I was just going to let him go through. But then he went incredibly slowly around the next 2 corners. So I thought, okay, I may as well retake the position. And I think I just turned in front of Max. But that's the thing, I was all happy to let Max go. That's why I didn't try and outbrake him heading into the first corner. But he went so slowly. In hindsight, maybe I should have just went slowly with him. And look at that. That is, I believe, my teammate, Sergio Perez, just behind me. So that means Perez has beat me, because Perez is not stopping again this Grand Prix, and I am. And he's right behind me in track position terms. So let's have a look. Verstappen got by. I thought that was a done deal. Okay, but then he goes incredibly slowly. Almost lets me go through. I thought it was a done deal for me. I mean, yes, I did turn in front of Verstappen. However, I would argue that I was significantly in front. Pretty much my entire car was in front of his. So he should have backed off. That's, I mean, you know, I think you can apportion blame on both sides. Seriously, if I didn't turn in, it would never have happened. But also, he could have avoided it, and I think he probably should have done. Anyway, Massa's in the pits. So, once again, we've got past Massa. That's the second time we've got past Massa, but I haven't done it out on track. He's always coming to the pits before me. So, hopefully, much like earlier on, hopefully, the undercut for Massa won't work. And hopefully it can for me, because, well, Hulkenberg isn't too... I mean, it was quite a dramatic incident, the spin out, but I didn't lose too much track time. Several seconds, but I could still catch it to Hulkenberg. Verstappen in theory, but with those soft tyres, I'm not going to see him ever again. Unfortunately, this time, the undercut has now worked for Felipe Massa. And there you go, and he's on the hard tyres, which I don't know why, because surely he could have stretched the medium tyres, but he was always coming into the pits very early, so I think he was wearing out those tyres much harder than I was. And we got Felipe Massa on the hard tyres, I'm on the mediums, and in fact Massa, going incredibly slowly. He didn't exactly leave a lot of space for me, to be fair, but he was going incredibly slowly. I don't know if that's because of the hard tyres. As I said, I know from experience, the hard tyres are so much slower than the mediums around this track, but that was still slow, even by hard tyre standards. And here we go. It's a one-stop versus the two-stop, effectively here. Sergio Perez, he was able to gain track position on Verstappen, but Verstappen, he's stopped twice now. He's on the medium tyres. Perez is on some worn hard tyres. And that's it, Max Verstappen. He's back in the place. He's back where he rightly deserves, and that is in the top 6. A Red Bull to finish outside of the top 6 would be... that'd be embarrassing for Red Bull, to be honest. Anyway, so we've got... well, we're on lap, what's that, 28. I've caught up to Hulkenberg. You may have noticed that, well, we're much further on in the race. It took me, basically, ever since I passed Massa, it was just lap after lap after lap, slowly edging my way closer to Hulkenberg. The undercut, I was able to gain some time on Hulkenberg through the undercut. As you may have noticed, when I passed Massa, I think Hulkenberg was only 3 seconds ahead. So I was able to gain on the undercut. The thing is though, it's one of those cases where catching is one thing and passing is quite another. We're going to try and make a move, the same move we made on Felipe Massa, but it just hasn't worked this time because we don't have the tyres. We don't have the tyre advantage or even the freshness on the tyres, the grip level from these tyres. And we're so desperate to get past. We're quicker than Hulkenberg. That's the annoying thing. We're just slightly quicker than Hulkenberg, and we have been all Grand Prix. Me and Hulkenberg and Massa, we've been inseparable as a trio this Grand Prix. And look, we got DRS, we got the slipstream, we've got the Mercedes engine, but we've got a worn Mercedes engine. And I think we made it. We've got Holden now around the outside, and Hulkenberg has just retaken the position. I haven't taken Hulkenberg out because that was so nearly a repeat of the Verstappen-Quinn incident. Anyway, it was just agonising, lap after lap after lap after lap, catching up close to Hulkenberg. And in fact, I think we've made it. No, we've not, because he's going to get the drive out of the corner. In fact, no, hang on, I've got the drive out of the corner, but now I've got to hold it around the outside. Hulkenberg, he's got his car ahead, and he's got the inside line, and oh my word, this is it was just going on forever. I almost passed him around that DRS straight. That's the annoying thing, is I'm able to keep up with him around the third sector, but it's those last couple of corners. As you may have noticed, a slight slide out of the last couple of corners, which always hindered my run, but actually wasn't too bad that time. And I've got the DRS, I've got the slipstream, but I've got a worn Mercedes engine. But I think this time I've finally been able to just edge my way past Nico Hulkenberg with a lap to go. We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix now, and I've just about been able to do it. And that was, well, we're going to see a glimpse now. You will have just seen a glimpse. You could have paused the video there. You will have seen that the engine, every engine component is yellow. It's over 50% worn. The only one that isn't is the gearbox, and we all know how much gearbox issues we had at the start of the, well, not even the start of the Grand Prix, but the start of the race weekend. And anyway, here we are, Sebastian Vettel, who's dominated the Spanish Grand Prix. Coming round the final corner, Sebastian Vettel is going to win the 2017 Spanish Grand Prix. And believe it or not, that is his first race win all season. Staggering. Honestly staggering to think that Vettel has taken him 5 Grand Prix this season to win a race. I finished in 8th place, which, it could have been further up. I mean, honestly, I wasn't going to meet Max Verstappen in the long run. That was inevitable, he was going to beat me. But, yeah. I mean, honestly, to finish 8th, bearing in mind the gearbox penalty, bearing in mind the worn engine, bearing in mind the spin I had, bearing in mind all of that, I think 8th place is pretty decent. In fact, the only non-Mercedes Ferrari or Red Bull runner to beat me was Sergio Perez. And Perez, well, the one-stop strategy, he pulled that off. The one-stop was definitely quicker. I'm not quite sure if I had the smoothness in my driving to be able to pull it off, but Perez did, and fair play to him, because that's a decent finish, another decent finish for Force India, 7th and 8th. We've outscored Renault, we've outscored Williams, Massa was able to take 10th place, he was just behind myself and Hulkenberg. Honestly, all race, I spent the entirety of the race with Hulkenberg, Massa, and quite a lot of it with Verstappen. No retirements. And anyway, look at that. Kimi Räikkönen is still leading the Drivers' Championship. Hamilton's still in 2nd. Bottas in 3rd. Vettel's just been able to pass Max Verstappen. And Vettel's had a dreadful season. 5 races to win a Grand Prix. But let's not forget, he retired from the Chinese Grand Prix and from the Bahrain Grand Prix. And he was leading the Bahrain Grand Prix when he retired. And here we are, the Constructors' Championship. And it's not too surprising really, Mercedes are leading it because Vettel has had extremely poor reliability. Hamilton's had 1 retirement, Vettel's had 2, and I don't think either Finnish driver have had any retirements this season so far. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time for the Monaco Grand Prix.